Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, September 11th. So welcome to September 11th. If you listen to my ascension forecast for the week, you would know that this is a highly emotional, intensified day, energetically speaking, mostly because of the heartstrings that get plucked on such a day of remembrance. And again, please listen to the forecast, but you would know that it is definitely in our favor to try and keep the vibrations high, to keep our minds focused on the reality in which we want to be living so that we can cut these evildoers off at the source and not allow them to feed on our lower vibrational frequencies by the emotional memories that come creeping back when such a day like today is lived. It will likely be hard to keep those emotions in check, seeing that we are still very much in the full moon Pisces energy. If you haven't listened to that astro forecast, I'm going to recommend you do so. If you haven't downloaded your moon guide, there is still time. We are definitely feeling a little bit lighter today, mostly because we have that moon in Pisces shifting into Aries energy, which is a great change for us. Again, Aries being the very first sign of the zodiac, a fire sign at that. We are bold, we are brave, we are courageous, we are headstrong, we are the spiritual warriors that we need to be in order to cut through the emotional intensity of that Piscean moon and move on, move forward, really get in alignment with pushing ourselves through the blocks, through the obstacles, through the challenges that definitely got triggered and activated under this full moon in Pisces. So there are 11 different aspects here today, and 9 of them involve the moon. While the moon is still in Piscean energy, but while void, the moon goes ahead and makes a very positive aspect with both Mars and then makes a not so nice aspect with the true node. Basically, at 2:28 a.m., it's happening at the same time. So the moon in Pisces making a positive aspect with Mars. Mars is in Gemini energy, of course, and Mars being the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, even our anger, is helping us to funnel this pain, this trauma, this uncomfortability that we've been experiencing into something good. This is where we become motivated, where we become inspired, where we are kind of picking ourselves up and dusting ourselves off. And then with the moon semi-squaring the true node at the same time, it's kind of putting us at a position of what do we want to do from here? We know we don't want to go back. We know we have to move forward, but we definitely don't know what the next step may be. Yes, there's been a huge release. Yes, there's going to continue to be a huge healing energy wash over us for the next couple of days. But as far as what we're going to do with this motivation, inspiration, and new determination, we're kind of at a loss on what it is that we need to be doing to funnel this energy into something productive. So the moon goes ahead and locks into this Aries energy at 2:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we go all the way till 9:09 a.m. with no action, no activity until the sun in Virgo trines, which is a beautiful energy, with Uranus. So let's break this down. Uranus is retrograde in Taurus energy, trying to show us where it is that we are a little bit too attached to people, places, identity, things, where it is that we've been praying for change, but where it is that we're blocking that change from happening, where it is that fears and I'm going to say doubts, insecurities are coming up for us in recognizing where it is that we want to move forward, making changes in our physical lives to the routines, the relationship, the money matters that we got going on in our lives right now. But here's the thing. The sun in Virgo is here to fix things, to return us to a state of wholeness. Yes, we have to identify the problem, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty aware as of right now what the problem actually is. And so the sun interacting with Uranus in this way, the Great Awakener, is promoting a positive mind shift, a positive change. This is kind of pepping us up, firing us up in all the right ways to embrace new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. This is the change that we need. This is going to help us kind of break free from those attachments that we've identified that are definitely blocking us. This is going to lighten the load, lighten the vibe, loosen us up a little bit, and make us a little tiny bit more open to actually taking a couple of risks, moving away from that very heavy earth energy that Virgo energy is, and putting us in a situation where we can open up our mind to new ideas, to new aha moments, to new levels of inspiration. And we're a little bit more flexible, if you will, to at least step outside the comfort zone, to dabble, to experiment in some of the things that we know on our mind space, in our heart space, that we have to change. So what's good about this is that this is going to bring some light bulb moments. This is also going to help us see the possibilities of the greater, grander picture. This Uranian energy is visionary at best. And this is a time for us to really kind of step outside of the four walls of the comfort zones in which we've created and recognize what it is that we've gotten in a rut about, and just see what goes on outside of those walls. Maybe we can come up with a new way of doing things, a new direction to take. Regardless, this is going to open us up to approach life a little bit differently and to not be so afraid of taking the risks that could definitely set us up for success. So where the sun is involved, this is our life force energy, and where this is in Virgo energy, this is a very calculated move, but it is also really an effort to return us to a safe place, a stable place, and a place where, again, we can return to health and wellness. But then the moon goes ahead and semi-squares Uranus. And emotionally, we just don't know if we're up for the challenge right now. Granted, the moon in Aries definitely has a little bit more pep in our step, but there's also a lot of restlessness, a lot of impulses that come up for us with the moon in Aries. And again, we're still in Virgo season. Everything has to be well thought out, very calculated. And because we're kind of searching for the direction, searching for these new ways of thinking, and new ways of operating, we might actually feel a little bit of agitation and frustration that we're not coming up with the solutions right here, right now. The energy is building, but we don't have all the answers right now. And of course, that can definitely create a lot of anger within us in this very, I'm going to say, restless energy, not only of the full moon energy, but of the moon now in Aries. And things don't get any lighter when the moon goes ahead and semi-squares Saturn, the Lord of Karma. Saturn is retrograde in Aquarian energy, which means that we're having to think big, we're having to think grand, we're having to think about the future in order to break it down into manageable steps on what it is that we can do in the here and now to start building a solid foundation for us to actually get away from what it is that we're trying to get away from and get closer to what it is that we desire to manifest. Now, the semi-square is a tension point. Again, just keep in mind that the moon in Aries has a lot of pep in our step, but lacks direction. And one of the downsides of Aries energy is that we tend to jump into things without thinking long-term consequence-wise, and we kind of create a mess for ourselves. We also tend to burn ourselves out long before we actually see any kind of productivity take place from the actions and the energy that we're putting out to the world. The moon interacting with Saturn in this way is going to kind of feel heavy and weighted. Saturn likes to pump the brakes, while this Aries energy likes to not only step on the gas, but hit the nitro every now and then. And we're absolutely not going anywhere fast. We're just kind of sitting here, spinning our tires and seeing the smoke fill up the inside of the car. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and come into a perfect meeting with Jupiter, who is retrograde in Aries. And let me just tell you, this is going to magnify whatever it is that we're thinking, whatever it is that we're feeling. We have the capability right now to be thinking big, feeling big. We have the opportunity to renew our faith, our trust, our spirits, if you will. And we also have the ability to bite off more than we can chew, to absolutely let that agitation and frustration become so big that it clouds our vision, it clouds our judgment. And so we do have to be very careful with how it is that we're going to allow this energy to manifest. Now, this is an emotional energy because, of course, the moon is our heart space, and Jupiter likes to turn the volume all the way up on whatever it is that we're holding in our heart space. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Pluto in a very positive way that would suggest that we are seeing a huge shift, an internalized shift in our head space, in our heart space, because of course that's where the transformation has to take place first before we're going to see the physical changes in our physical realm. Now, this is definitely going to lighten the vibe because we're empowered at this point in time. You know, we've been really sitting in the funk as of late. This whole full moon in Pisces was supposed to release some of that energy to the cosmos. It's still very early on in this moon phase, but this particular indicator with Pluto is telling us that whatever it is that we're frustrated about, whatever loss we've been dealing with, whatever disappointments we've been facing, whatever blocks and challenges we've been really angry and frustrated about, suddenly we're spinning that. We're plucking out the silver linings, and we're using that as fuel to our inner fire to actually push us, motivate us, challenge us to boss up and to be better. The moon does interact with Venus in such a way that would suggest that there's likely going to be a learning opportunity out of a situation that pops off out of our control in our exterior realm. Now, Venus, being the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, in Virgo energy, which has us very grounded, very logical, very practical, and very focused on taking care of ourselves and returning our physical body back to a state of wellness, the moon interacting with Venus in this way would likely suggest that emotionally speaking, we may be a little bit detached, a little bit isolated from the people that we tend to have personal relationships with. But this could also be a situation where we are recognizing from the actions of the people that we care about that maybe they have guards up. Maybe we don't feel like we can get close to them. Maybe we feel like we're being pushed away. And that can definitely push us inward and allow this Virgo energy to create the worst case scenario. Although Virgo energy is a healing energy, we do become a little bit critical and over judgmental and like to pick things apart, especially when it comes to ourselves. And in this particular energy, it would kind of seem that something is going to pop off in a personal relationship that really puts us at odds with how it is that we're thinking, how it is that we're feeling, based off of the actions that we are either putting out into the world or that we're receiving in our personal relationships. Keep in mind that Venus in Virgo likes to show love through action, through actual tangible errands, support, service. But because of that, emotionally speaking, we can be a little bit cold, a little bit rigid. We don't really have the emotional connection that we're looking for. It's kind of like we're a little bit distant because we're very much stuck in our heads. Speaking of heads, the moon goes ahead and opposes, sits across from Mercury, who rules over our mental plane. And Mercury just went retrograde on Friday. If you haven't listened to that astro forecast, please go ahead and do so. Mercury being retrograde in Libran energy, of course, Libran energy sits across from this Aries energy that the moon is currently in, is definitely going to put us at odds. And here's why. Here's a couple of reasons that we have to kind of watch out for. First of all, Mercury being retrograde in Libra, we are looking back. We are reflecting. We are revisiting topics and themes, especially based around our personal relationships, in order for us to find balance, peace, harmony. Now, that's not going to come easy. We just went retrograde. Most of us will feel this in extremes before we find a happy middle ground. Even more than that, Aries energy is about me. What do I want? What do I need? What do I desire? What's best for me? While this Libran energy is about the team, the partnership, the relationship, the group. Doesn't matter what I want, what I need, what I desire, what's best for us as a unit. Where can I sacrifice what I want, need, and desire for the greater, grander good? The Aries energy and the Libran energy sitting across from each other in the zodiac wheel always puts us at odds with what it is that we think we should do, because there's a part of us that needs to honor what it is that we want, we need, we desire, but we can't do so if that means that we're going to put the relationship, the team, the group, the unit in jeopardy. We do have to kind of find balance there. And of course, that Libran energy is all about balance. And even more than that, the moon is our heart space, while Mercury is our head space, and them sitting across the wheel, the table from one another. There's definitely a conflict between wanting to follow our heart and doing what is right for us, and thinking about what we should be doing because that's what we think other people want from us. So it is going to be a little bit of a push and a pull in order to find a middle ground in between honoring ourselves and honoring those that we love. Mercury is going to bump into the true node. This is a very helpful aspect. This means that the reflection, revision, the revisiting, if you will, the re-editing of certain plans, the realignment that we are going through with all of these retrograde planets is putting us in a position where we are learning what we want to do moving forward. If you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you would know that we're currently in the stage, in the phase, in the cycle where we have to go back in order to figure out how to move forward. We have to visit our past in order to design a plan for our future. And Mercury interacting with the true node in this way would suggest that we're having some kind of reflection, some kind of aha moment by looking back, revisiting certain topics and themes. And from that comes a aha moment, a light bulb moment, a flash of inspiration on what it is that we need to do to actually move forward. The moon is going to wrap up the day's energy with a sextile, which is a beautiful aspect, with Mars, who is in Gemini energy and just entered its pre-shadow period. Aries energy is ruled over by Mars. And any time that the moon in a certain energy meets up with the ruler of that energy, you best believe that we feel that spark. We feel that intensity. What we know to be true is that Mars, currently in Gemini, is fighting the great war on the intellectual battlefield of our mind space. The Gemini energy has us positioned between two different choices, very extreme, very polarized, with directions and paths and choices and decisions that we're kind of up in the air about. Now, Mars needs to aggressively cut through the blockages, the challenges in our mind space in order to align with one choice, one decision, one path over the other. The moon in Aries interacting with Mars in this way has us fired up, has us inspired, has us picking a direction, has us honing in our focus, has a little bit of a pep in our step, has some fuel being added to the fire. And emotionally speaking, even if we are using anger as our force to push us forward, we are making progress in our inner realms and positioning ourselves in our physical realms to actually take steps in moving forward. Keep in mind, we have 6 planets in a retrograde, so we're not going to be making a whole bunch of progress moving forward in our physical realms. Right now, we have the most activity taking place in our inner realms, preparing us for October, which is going to be a very chaotic and crazy month because all of these planets, one by one, will come out of their retrograde and go direct. That's when we get to take all of the information, all of the work that we've been doing in our inner realm, in the here and now with all this retrograde energy, and we get to actually start taking actions in our physical realm to make our outer realm match what we just resolved our inner realm to be. So the moon sextiling with Mars in this way is fueling us up. It's making us in our energy, in our spirit, in our motivation, our determination. It is firing us up in all the right ways. And again, if you have to use irritation and frustration and anger as the fuel in order to keep your fire lit, by all means do so. Just make sure you have a direction, you have a focus, that you thought these plans out, and that you are making calculated moves We do not want to waste our physical energy. Mars, being the ruler over Aries energy, has a tendency, again, to go balls to the walls, exert all of our life force energy without actually getting to the end goal. We want to prevent that from happening. In order to do that, we have to tap into this Virgo energy in the season of Virgo that we're in and really analyze the step-by-step process logically, practically, and make a strategy with very calculated moves so that we are exerting our physical life force energy in all the right ways.